Harry, do we need a theme song?
No!
Welcome back to Up The Duff. In episode 4 today, we will be discussing recent loan signings and seeing how they are doing, what they're up to now. We'll talk about 3 or 4 in detail, mention some others too at the end if we have time. First things first, we need to clarify something. Harry, did you originally get the joke in Up The Duff?
Yeah, of course I did.
Good, because
Like,
some people don't. I've been asked, Ben, it's a good name. Why is he pregnant? Because Up the Duff is slang for pregnant. That's why we have a pregnant Duff. Well, we've updated it to make it look more professional.
yes.
It's not just us being weird. There is a definite age gap in that, though. Younger people I've found don't get it, older people do, which is interesting. But anyway, let's get into the Joe Rodon experience. Would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So yeah, as we said, going to do a few loan signings in depth. The first of which I thought we'd go for more recent one, and I decided to pick Owen Evans. It's especially apt after last night's Newport game.
I did get a message during the match from a Newport fan I went to uni with going, what happened to Owen Evans? And I cried a little bit.
Yeah, Owen Evans was a fantastic keeper last season, obviously stepped up into the position of Scott Flinders while he was suffering that horrible broken leg that he sustained against Oldham. I think we were all very concerned about, Scott's welfare more than anything else, but also the kind of impact that could have on the squad as a whole. And Owen stepped in. He played 12 games for us, and in that time, he only conceded 10 goals, 3 of which were unfortunately against Northampton in the second leg of the playoffs. But
You don't talk about that.
no, we don't like referring to that horrible heartache. But yeah, he was a fantastic keeper. Very, very rarely put a foot wrong, and I don't think he's at a different club on loan at the moment. I think he's just an understudy at Wigan.
That is painful to hear. Yeah, when Flinders did have that injury, Lovett did come on and do quite well, but it was the same as a few years ago where they didn't think Lovett would be ready, which is why we got Rob Lainton on that one match loan. I feel like Owen Evans was the perfect goalkeeper for us. He was a great shot stopper. His distribution was the best I've seen at a Cheltenham keeper in a long time, and it may have contributed to Macclesfield's unfortunate demise, but for us, in the selfish point of view, he was a fantastic goalkeeper, I think.
I completely agree. He was the perfect keeper for Michael Duff's playing style. You can see why he picked him. He came straight in. His ability to stop shots was largely on par with Scott Flinders, but his ability to distribute the ball is arguably even better.
And I think it goes to show this season just how important the goalkeeper can be.
I want to go in too hard on Josh Griffiths.
It's not fair. He's only a kid, but he's 6'6". There's 1 foot and 4 inches between his head on the crossbar. You should not be able to put it over him from your own penalty area.
He's had good moments, and unfortunately, last night and also against Grimsby, he's shown that he's not quite as reliable as a Flinders or an Evans. And I think the best way of putting it is that the team could be semi-successful with Griffiths in goal, but if you want to win the league outright, you can't afford those kind of slip-ups. I'm sure he's got the full backing of Michael Duff, and he's made it very clear as well that he's here to learn, and I'm sure we can all appreciate that. But at the same time, from a selfish perspective, I think we all want to actually win the league. No one wants the uncertainty of playoffs. I don't think you'd want to just settle for second or third while you could come home with the trophy. So,
all very, very good points. Yeah, we won't rip into Griffiths. It's not fair. I thought he was very good in that game against Peterborough when we beat them. And I thought, oh, we've got ourselves a good keeper, but he hasn't hit that peak. But we're going to move on from him. We're going to move on from who you mentioned, which was Owen Evans. I'm going to talk a little bit about Joe Morrell, who we had as part of a trio from Bristol City. We got Freddie Hines, who I don't know what's happened to him. Taylor Moore, who plays for Bristol City regularly. the Bristol City fan I know doesn't like him and says he's not very good. And then Joe Morrell, who's now at Luton Town, has played 7 times this season, having moved there for an undisclosed fee in the summer. And I feel like out of a lot of our loans recently, he's gone on to the most success.
I completely agree. I think he's a full-on Wales international now as well.
He's played 7 times for his country.
Yeah, can't leave that off his CV. Yeah, he was a fantastic player when he came to Cheltenham.
That goal against Luton, I still remember. Pops into my head randomly. It's an
That goal
absolute.
against Luton was.
That is the only. That's the reason they've signed him. I reckon they've been trying ever since he scored that, because I know how much their manager hated Cheltenham and only wanted to get promoted so he'd never have to play us again.
Nathan Jones wasn't particularly fond of us after the 3-0 the season before. You know,
that 2-2 where Flinders got an assist. That is one of my highlights of Cheltenham, because I ended up about 20 feet to the left of where I was, and I don't know where you guys ended up after that goal.
It was it was a fantastic moment because, you know, conceded in the 85th minute, I think. Luton went 2-1 up. You know, got a last minute counter attack, and their keeper just
don't know what he was
threw
doing.
the ball out of play behind the goal. It was unfathomable.
It was unfathomably stupid.
I can't believe he made it, and you know, Scott Flinders came up
and rubbed it in his face,
whipped into the box. He gets his head on it. Will Boyle taps it in,
and we all go mental.
It's one of those moments you just don't forget, you know.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go through Joe Morrell's career, because it was a bit, I'd say, out the blue of him being sent to a League Two club. Obviously, it's the Johnson & Johnson mix, not the shampoo that manages. So Joe Morrell's first loan was in 16-17 to Sutton United. He only played 3 times. The same season, he went to Margate, which was the tier below. He only played twice. And then, out of nowhere, I suppose, he makes 39 appearances, scoring 3 times for Cheltenham in the 17-18 season, which I feel was quite good for him. Then he goes up a league again, plays 32 times for Lincoln in what is the height of their history, pretty much. This is their peak. And obviously, he's got that move to Luton Town. He's only played 4 times for Bristol City.
It seems like Bristol City wasted his ability.
Like he was a small man, and I feel like perhaps they were worried he's not physical or strong enough for the Championship. But Luton have just shown, no, he's good enough. He'll play. Have that, Bristol. Yeah. And that is that for Joe Morrell. Who were you going to talk about next?
I was going to talk about another player who had their breakthrough at Cheltenham, and another one from last season as well, Jacob Greaves. He's been flying. He is a fantastic player, and he's flying very high with Hull City this season. You know, they're top of League One, I think.
It's very tight at the top.
They're definitely in the title race though, and he's been making a lot of appearances for City, just like his dad did as well. It remains to be seen if he'll show them that kind of loyalty too.
I think we really did manage to capitalise on the Cheltenham link with manager Grant McCann and Mike Duff, and that was really good for us. Sheaf was a good player for us. Greaves was just out of this world. Greaves is, I say this about at least one lone player per season, and it hasn't always happened, but Greaves is going to the top.
Yeah, Jacob Greaves he's definitely going to the top. You know, he was 18 years old and he joined us, you know, immediately displaced Will Boyle of all players. You know, that is not an easy task by any means. He played 35 games last season, and the team managed to keep 11 clean sheets with him in the lineup.
It's mental. That back 3, Tozer, Raglan, Greaves, that was a League One standard back 3. Obviously, Raglan, he is a League One standard defender. We got him just because he was out of favour at Oxford. But Greaves just came in and made them outstanding. And then Owen Evans in behind. That back 3, you could win promotion from League One with, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Maybe you'd have to change Tozer for someone. But Raglan, Greaves and Evans were just a dream.
Again, it's perfect for Michael Duff's tactics. You know, he's like Owen Evans, a fantastic distributor of the ball. He's a centre-back who's very capable of pinging a long pass across the pitch. And, you know, that's something that Will Boyle can do. No doubt about that. Will Boyle is a fantastic player. But
Will Boyle has scored more for Cheltenham than Dan Holman. He's that level of goal scorer.
But Jacob Greaves just had that kind of consistency with his passing that we don't see from any of our other centre-backs.
Any other players in League Two even. He's an outstanding player. Are we ready to move on to my number 2?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I've gone for another outstanding player from last season in Jake Doyle-Hayes.
Ooh. I wonder why. You picked him, Ben.
Because I am a very big fan of St Mirren in the Scottish Premiership. I'm not. I like Villa. Obviously, I like Villa. And I thought, we've had 3 loanees recently from Aston Villa. Can you even remember the other 2?
How recent are we talking?
Since we got promoted from the National League.
Suleiman
Yes.
and Mooney.
Correct. If I were to rank them, Doyle Hayes, no matter what, he's at the top. I thought he was superb. He made 36 appearances for us. He scored in that cracking game against Bradford. He was a massive part in us reaching the heights that we did.
Yeah, I liked him. He was a very important player to the team. I thought he made a lot of appearances. It was weird that he was out of club for so long in the summer as well. I think we all thought that
He'd get snapped up.
Yeah, really quickly.
To be fair to him, he's sitting pretty in 8th in the Scottish Premiership. Do you know the only team to domestically beat Rangers this season?
By any chance, was it St Mirren?
It was. They beat them in the Scottish Cup. Rangers are storming to the league title, unbeaten in the league, but St Mirren beating them in the Scottish Cup. And you've got to say, Doyle Hayes was a big part of that.
I have no idea.
Would just agree that he is.
For the sake of this, I'm sure he was.
So I'm going to do what I did with Morel, just go through Doyle Hayes' career. Obviously, Villa, he only played twice, both in the League Cup, and then on loan to Cambridge United, where he only played 6 games. And I don't really remember him being at Cambridge, which was odd. And then obviously he's come to us, 36 games, 1 goal, off to St Mirren. And I feel like we got absolute peak Doyle Hayes, because it could have gone the other way and he played like he did at Cambridge, which I can't say was bad because I don't really remember it. But he's come in and be superb. And he's still only 22. He's 2 years younger than Joe Morel. So he's still got that chance to make it to the top.
Yeah, definitely.
Want to do your third choice?
Yes, I would. Third choice was a little less recent, but arguably very important to the club in the last 5 years, and that was Scott Brown when he rejoined us on loan from Wickham in the 16-17 season when we were in quite a bad position coming up to that January transfer window.
It was an interesting signing on the fact that we played Wickham and he played, and then about 2-3 days after it was released that Scott Brown's coming back. I was ecstatic, but I wasn't. His chant's not the most imaginative. It was Scott Brown, Scott Brown, Scott Brown, Scott Brown, which I think we could have done more with. But doesn't matter how good or bad your chant is when you are that good as a goalkeeper.
Completely agree. Yeah, he came in, shored up the defence massively, along with, a few other defensive reinforcements on loan, Manny Onorise, Tin Plavetic as well.
Tin Plavetic was massive. That's all I remember about him. He could make a goal line clearance by sticking his foot out from the halfway line. He was that big. I remember one game he made that sort of clearance and then went and scored. And I was like, how has he done that? Scott Brown, weirdly, was only 6 foot. Which is a bit short for a goalkeeper, but he was still superb. I think it was Cambridge United where he's managed to get from one post to the other, just dived across to parry away a header. And then when we played Grimsby, Kelly scored a lovely goal, but very early on, when it was 0-0, Grimsby had a free kick and he's gone. It looked like they were going to cross it in. And then whoever's taken it's put it top corner. And Scott Brown's managed to get across his box and parry it over. If that had gone in, our season could have just completely gone the other way.
Definitely. We stayed up by the skin of our teeth, and if not for that Hartlepool game on the second to last day of the season, that pumping at Portsmouth could have been very different for us and for them too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was as bad as that was for us. It's still one of my favourite ever games, just because of the experience of it. Obviously, it wasn't very fun getting beaten 6-1, but yeah, it was still.
It happens.
It was infuriating that we could have signed Scott Brown permanently for about £5,000, which I don't get why we couldn't. Obviously, we don't know the finances in depth, but Port Vale went and got him. He's been superb for them as well.
Yeah. Wait, he spent an extra season at Wickham though, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he won the league or got promoted with Wickham as well.
Yeah, but we could have signed him very cheaply and avoided that whole catastrophe with John Flatt coming in at the start of 17-18, I think. Yeah, of course, that led to Scott Flinders coming, so
which I will talk about
swings
soon.
And roundabouts.
So, we ready to move on?
Yep.
Now, I am going to apologise for absolutely butchering every single word I'm about to say, because I'm going to talk about the loan signing in that season, 17-18, of Illias Chatzeodoridis.
Nailed it.
I did. I'm very proud of myself. The apology wasn't really needed. who now is at Greek Premier League side Panathinaikos, where he's played 44 games and scored 3 goals. Now, in terms of players moving out the country, I feel like Illias is probably the success story.
Yeah. I completely agree. There's not many players from Cheltenham to have left the country like he did. Yeah, Roof was one. Daniel O'Shaughnessy as well. He went to
Finland
HOK
International now.
Helsinki.
Yeah, Doyle Hayes. Does Scotland count as abroad? So I'm just going to go through the career as I did. I'm just going to go through the career of Illias as I did with the others. And there's more room for butchering. Now, he started his career at Maskalathiakos, where he was a youth player, obviously in Greece, which is where he's from, before getting involved with the Arsenal. I don't know if that's how you say Arsenal. Academy over there, before being brought over to England, where unfortunately it didn't really happen for him in North London. But he did get signed for Brentford B before getting sent out on loan to us. I think he was okay. That's all I can. This may be another controversial, but I feel like our squad in that season was the best we've had in recent years. We just didn't do anything with it. We had Harry Pell, Mo Issa, Brian Graham, Joe Morrell, Scott Flinders, Forster, the other one, and Joe Rodon. How did we not finish above where we did, which I think was 17? How were we even in a relegation battle with a squad like that? A squad who was good enough for the Scottish Championship, because that's where those players are. Premier League now, Championship over here. The other one's not really doing anything because he's not nice and we don't like him.
Well, I mean, when you look back on that little period after we got back into the Football League, there's one common denominator in all of our failings. I think you know, Ben, and I think a lot of people listening also know.
It's because it was the Auto Village stand, not the Speedy Skip stand. Oh, I didn't think of that, Harry. Very good point.
But no, we massively underachieved with that 17-18 squad. It was
a mess.
Yeah, a fantastic squad.
See, something I find incredibly odd is during that time we played a very similar system to what we do now. We had 3 centre-backs. Johnson used 2 full-backs rather than Duff's wing-backs. Johnson was very much a back 5, Duff is a back 3, but we had the 2 strikers, we had the one in behind. Very similar. It just goes to show what small changes and a manager can change, which was good. And just finishing with Illias, he's signed a 3-year deal at Panathinaikos, but his 1920 season was ended by injury, but apparently he's been good enough to get that new contract, so fair play to Mr. Chatzeodoridis. Got anyone else to talk about?
You're just stroking your ego now, Ben, aren't you?
What, just because I can say Illias Chatzeodoridis? Yes, I am.
Probably do a few noticeable for me. One standout I thought about was Jake Andrews. Not necessarily on the whole, but for that one specific performance at Swindon away. When he got subbed off, I think towards the 70th minute, I think it might have been for Sammy Odalusi. He was given a standing ovation. He was absolutely brilliant that day. On the whole as well, not just for the free kick, but the free kick was the standout thing. I can't think of many natural free kick takers. Well,
we haven't had a free kick taker.
I didn't phrase that right. I can't think of many free kick takers as natural as Jake Andrews. Chris Clements and Chris Hussey are both decent at set pieces, but
they're not just the same.
Jake Andrews' ability to score a free kick is unparalleled at this sort of level.
Which is odd because he did it once.
We saw a lot of videos of him banging free
I'm glad that we, for once, had a free kick during the rounds online that went in, because I saw that free kick from the National League yesterday. It's doing the rounds again. But
as per, always
Jake Andrews is now at Torquay, probably going to win the National League. We might see him next year if we're in the same league, which I hope we're not. I'd like to be in League One. Maybe we'll get them in the Papa John's or, I don't know, Screwfix Trophy, Tesco Home Delivery Cup, whatever they decide to call it. And
well, I mean, given what happened last time, Gary Johnson got a National League side promoted to League Two. I'm not sure just how well that's going to go for them.
My only worry is we are now the kind of side that a Gary Johnson side will get house. Like when we beat Mansfield, when we beat Colchester, when we did all that, those results against Luton, we are now that good footballing side that he preys on. Cast our minds back to before the Football League era, breaking the rules a bit, I know. Dylan Phillips.
What a man.
Fantastic. Got one of the best loanees we have ever had, which is weird because he only played about half a season because of his injury, but he was that good.
I guess you could say, as far as loan signings go, he was a Cheltenham Town legend.
Yes, I do believe he was very, very good for us, a massive part of winning the league. He was just superb. As far as a loanee can, I don't think a loanee can become a legend unless we were to get someone insane on loan who single-handedly wins us the league. But Dylan Phillips was as close as you can get. I do believe he's at Cardiff now.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if he's starting or if he's an understudy, but
he's
finally departed Charlton after many years there. He obviously came through their academy as well.
And now, after all that, we're going to touch on Joe Rodon, because not only did I forget to research him originally, despite having this name in the works for weeks, we've almost forgotten to talk about him in the actual episode. So, Mr. Rodon, a Welsh centre-back. During that season, we had Illias Chatzeodoridis, the kind of Panathinaikos player. Joe Rodon has gone on to do very well. He's played in the Premier League. It was something like a £10 million move, or it might rise to that. 5 appearances for Spurs. He played against Marine. Welsh international very soon, I imagine, if not already. But he only played 12 times for us.
Yeah. How about that?
Which was just, he played against us, the only time we've lost to an academy side in the Checker trade. And we brought him in on loan and not really used him much. I can't remember him standing out, probably because of the game time, but definitely I wouldn't have thought, yes, that man's going to be in the Premier League soon, because were Swansea a Premier League club at the time?
I think they were a Championship club at the time.
Yeah.
But I certainly remember there being a lot of fanfare around him from the Swansea fans. Just didn't quite get the opportunity to, totally show himself off when he came. But, clearly in the last 4 years, Swansea gave him the time that he, deserved.
Yeah.
Especially at Cheltenham, and he's gone on to much greater things.
Fair play to him. It's always nice, no matter what, to see a lone player go on to better things, because we get to say we played a part in that. You see what Antonio ended a man's career last night against West Brom. Not last night to you lot, last night for us. We're recording this on the Wednesday. Obviously Antonio, Jack Butland, who was a Premier League regular, England international, not so much now, but still quite good. And these players are doing fairly well for themselves.
They really are. It's very, very good to see them live up to the hype, as it were. A lot of young players, when they do go out on loan, it comes with a bit of a reputation in the academies, in youth football, and it's about whether or not they can actually hack it at proper men's game. And if they can do it at Cheltenham, they can do it anywhere.
You could have that technically brilliant player, might be the most technical able player, for example, at the Invincibles at Arsenal. If you get bullied on the pitch at a League Two club, it is going to knock your confidence, and you might be absolutely brilliant, but you have to be able to cope with the physicality of the men's game. And I feel like that's where a lot of players just fall down and fall off.
Yeah, I completely agree. You look at someone like Jacob Maddox, for instance. He was great on the ball. He's very reminiscent of Joel Sellers season before as well. But he's just not big enough to deal with the physicality of League Two.
Last night was just very annoying. I've seen lots of people defending Griffiths, and maybe it was impossible to save, but at the end of the day, their GK has scored from a goal kick, not even out of his hands or a clearance, a goal kick.
Oh dear. It's just terrible. It might have been a bit unfortunate for him, but it just shouldn't happen.
Happen. I haven't even been locked like that down the park when I used to be 5'4".
To me, it was scarily reminiscent of the goal he conceded against Grimsby. It just so happens that the kick was taken from the opposition's 6-yard box instead of our own box instead.
Wasn't ideal. Now, I think he has the potential to be a good goalkeeper, like we said earlier, but he is making too many mistakes. But apparently, if he doesn't play, we pay more, and that will cost us. But we have to weigh that up against costing points, because I would say that's cost us 3 points yesterday. That Grimsby game was a tight one. Barrow away game where he was okay, but he's been scored against again from a while out. And I remember Duff saying he's done nothing to deserve being dropped. Is that still true?
Michael Duff's in a much better position to make that decision than me.
Absolutely.
But
yeah, I said that Duff sees him in training. Griffiths might be a superb goalkeeper. It's just his young age, his inexperience. I really hope he can kick on and do really well. It would be nice to see him be successful. But there have been a couple times where it has been very annoying to watch.
But, you know, aside from his mistake, it was a very promising performance against Newport last night. We
promising but frustrating.
Dominated
score.
Yep, we dominated them all over the pitch, and yet again only scored the 1 goal. That's enough if you keep a clean sheet. Obviously, we didn't. We need to start converting our chances.
If we want that target, man, we should have kept Brian Graham. Brian Graham was a great striker. Bring in Danny Wright. Bring in someone who can both win the ball and put it in the goal. We'll
That's
just have
what
to
we
see.
need more than anything right now.
Moving on very quickly. Saturday. I'm very much looking forward. I feel the fans have earned this. It's just terrible that we can't go, and I am devastated. And how do you feel about not being able to go to the biggest game in recent years?
It's not a nice thought, of course. Who'd have thought of all the years that this could have happened? We can't be there. On the flip side, BBC One is massive. It's the most exposure the club's probably ever going to get from a football match. You know, prime time Saturday, the most accessible channel.
We just can't be there.
It's massive. Club are going to get a really nice amount of money from it, and loads of people are going to be watching it.
It's just people who pop the telly on, and that's what's on. They're going to be watching, and it's going to be brilliant. I have seen this picked as the biggest game in our history. I don't think it's the biggest game in our history, is it?
I wouldn't call it the biggest game in our history, because I think that holds more weight. To call something the biggest game in your history is to suggest it's a winnable game. You know, it's a big game as a game with consequence. If we get knocked out, which we almost certainly will, I'm not even thinking about the thought of winning. We've still earned a bit of money. We've had a nice run. So what? It doesn't matter. We don't need to fight for it. We're just fighting for pride more than anything else. To me, the biggest game in our history is probably a playoff final, or it's, you know, a game to win a league.
So those famous Russian Diamonds games, when we beat Grimsby, when we beat Halifax, when we beat Man United in 3 years' time to win the Prem, those are going to be the biggest games that we have. I feel like scoring would be amazing. A nice low score line. If they beat us 2-1, 3-1, I suppose everyone would agree that would be a positive result for us. Similar to when Villa's kids played Liverpool and the pride will come in a low score line. Would you say it's comparable to that?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that we'll lose first and foremost, but I think we'll lose nicely. I think that the kind of, you know, the kind of passion and work ethic will really come through here. I think we won't concede loads. I think we'll concede about 4.
My only fear is we manage to get it to 0-0 at the 90th minute and they slot home at the back post.
Oh no, it'd be gut-wrenching, wouldn't it, if we end up looking like we'll beat City and then we don't. But not thinking about that, because it's not going to happen. I'm convincing myself it's not going to happen.
Not getting your hopes up.
No, I'm going to throw some money on it anyway, because it's a lovely bit of extra incentive. But, you know,
Edison to score.
Don't you dare.
But I have seen apparently Laporte will be playing. It'll be like the first game back for them. Man City are in action Wednesday against Villa. Hopefully that'll tire them out and they'll have to play some younger players. Maybe, you know, Jack Grealish goes on, snapping ankles, weaving around the pitch. We are going to end, ladies and gentlemen, our question of the every other week. We're going to answer it and we're going to give you time to answer it. Just reply onto our socials, send us a message. Who is our best ever loan player? Who do you think, Harry?
It's probably Scott Brown, to be honest.
I'd say so. Scott Brown, he kept us up. 300 appearances for the club. Obviously, we're taking into account what he did before, but even just that loan, he did keep us up. So I'm confident in saying Scott Brown. And Scott Brown has the rather
Completely agree.
interesting record of being one of the only players to be listed as the number one for both teams on a matchday programme when we played Wickham away.
Yeah.
I think, Harry, we are done. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No,